Hello and welcome to this instructional video on how to use our recipe conversion worksheet on Google Sheets. So this might look a little different if you are working in Microsoft Excel, but more or less it's going to be the same, definitely the same procedure, and then some small differences between Excel and Sheets. But if you have any questions about either, feel free to reach out. So this is what the document is going to look like when you download it, preferably from your email versus off of Wiley. Sometimes, oh, excuse me, Canvas. Sometimes students have difficulties getting it from Canvas. So if all fails, I did send it in our week 2 email. So you're going to download this and access it through either Google Sheets or Excel. And notice down at the bottom, there are 3 different tabs. You might see only 2. I did label them for you as increasing and decreasing yield. So when you find your conversion factor for those, for the new minestrone soup recipes that we are doing for this assignment, choose the tab accordingly. So the conversion factor that is greater than 1 is going to be in your increasing yield tab, and the conversion factor that is less than 1 is going to be your decreasing yield. So I'm not going to walk through the minestrone soup recipe, obviously, because then it would be like I'm doing the work for you. Pretty much what the objective of this video is to show you how to use this, and there is one formula in place, and I want to point that out to you because this is the whole point of spreadsheets, and this is what makes our lives easier when we use spreadsheets when it comes to math. So um, up top, so going across, these are called columns. So column A, column B, column C. And then going down, these are called rows. Row 2, row 3, row 4, row 5, so on and so forth. Each individual box is called a cell. So that's just spreadsheet 101. I'll kind of trickle in a little bit of that information as we go along as well, in case you have yet to experience spreadsheets. So in column A, this is our original weight or volume of our ingredient or count. So in column A, we are only putting a numerical value, meaning just numbers only. So in your recipe, for example, if you had 3 pounds of apples, you're going to write a 3 there. In column B, it's titled unit. You will be filling out this column with the unit of measure. So like I just mentioned, we have 3 pounds. I'm going to go ahead and write pounds in that cell right there. And remember that pound sign does represent pounds, or LB. LBS is fine as well. I will recognize what you are saying. In the column C, we are listing our ingredients. So apples. This is also a good spot to put any clarifying instructions. So for example, if it was already peeled and sliced, and does not want to work, there we go. I can include that there. As you can see, now I can't really read the full apples peeled and sliced. So I'm going to go up here and I can adjust the size of the column. So in between the columns, there's a little gray line. You can kind of see it right here. When I put my cursor over it, it lets me drag, as long as I click, I can drag the column out or in as much as I would like to spread it out. And then that way I can read the full cell. When you can't read the full cell, it can be confusing, annoying, or really, detrimental to the recipe, and that would make someone not understand what you are doing or what you're talking about. So make sure that you adjust all your columns to make sure that everything is legible. From here, column D is going to be our conversion factor. So this is going to be the same number all the way down, because as we learn in class and throughout our video lecture this week, the conversion factor is a number. It does not have a unit attached to it. It's just a singular number, and it is applied to all of the ingredients in the same recipe. So everything is scaled the same way. So this number, for example, let's just make it easy on ourselves. Let's just put a whole nice number. So I'm going to put 4. As soon as I click enter, I should see my new column change. Look at that. Oh my gosh, how did that happen? So, introducing formulas. I plugged this in for you guys. It is a very, very simple equation, as you can see. So anytime you want to start a formula in a cell in Excel or Sheets, you start by typing the equal sign. And then, for example, for this specific application, I just want to multiply my original numerical value. This is so important why this should only be a number, and I'll show you why in a second, why if there's letters included in this cell, it won't work. The formula will come up as an error. So it's just taking this first cell, multiplying it to the conversion factor, and then that is the result there. So 3 times 4 is 12. Just to finish out this row, I'm going to go ahead and complete my chart. So following your instructions on assignment number 2, the second unit column, because look, column B is also labeled unit, column F is also labeled unit. So go ahead and make sure that those two columns match, because if it needs to change after the fact, we're going to change unit of measure here in actions taken and are converted. Otherwise, our final simplified version of this recipe. So 12 pounds is pretty kosher. There's no crazy decimals. It's not breaching a large number. There's really nothing I can change into other than pounds. So I'm just going to write none. In my converted value, this is, again, imagine like the final list of all of your ingredients. You want it in the most accurate, efficient way to measure this. So 12 pounds is pretty straightforward. So let's think of something that's a little bit more tricky. So I'm kind of feeling like we're talking about like a pie. I don't know. That's just me. So let's say for 3 pounds of apples, we also need, let's do 13 ounces of sugar. Now that sounds like a lot to me, so don't go home and make this recipe because I'm completely making this up as we go along. So 13 ounces of sugar in our original recipe. So I'm just using my tab button on my keyboard to easily navigate across. That's another little hack, so you don't have to individually click each cell. Remember that the conversion factor is going to be 4 for everything in this recipe. So that should be easy to just drag across. Hitting enter, the math is done for me. So 13, you can even double click it and it shows you what's going on. It highlights a cell in column A, and then in column D, that little asterisk means that it is being multiplied, and that is 13 times 4 is 52. Ounces here should match the original ounce column here. However, I can see that I could convert this down, right? We know that there are 16 ounces in a pound. So I'm going to group these 52 ounces by 16 ounce groups. So I'm going to do 52 divided by 16, and that leaves me with 3.25 cups, or excuse me, pounds. So I'm going to write divide by 16 ounces, just so you can start creating this muscle memory in your mind. This will come easier the more you practice. So now let me show you some things that will not work out. Like you're going to see an error code or like a mistake you might make, but it's easy to fix mistakes in a spreadsheet. So for example, let's say our next ingredient is 2 tablespoons. So you can already see right there, it's like, no, that's something I can't compute. There's an error in value. So that is your indication. It even highlights the little cell with this red corner. It tells you what's going on. This value does not match the column type number, so it's already programmed to only represent numbers. So if you were to make that mistake, just easily delete your unit of measure and add it into the right column. So I'll just complete this ingredient. And again, we're going to watch this change for us. Wow. Tablespoons gets brought over again. So 8 tablespoons. We know that for every 4 tablespoons, that makes a quarter cup. In other words, there are 16 tablespoons in 1 cup. So again, I'm going to write divide by, and look, the spreadsheets are so smart. They already give you prompts, like they might recognize patterns and suggest something, but I'm not doing exactly that. Very, very similar, but I'm just going to keep typing. And so if we do 8 divided by 16 tablespoons, that equals 0.5 cups. Cool. Okay. So one more mistake you might make is deleting the formula. So let's just plug in 1 teaspoon salt. You're going across, you think everything's fine, you hit your conversion factor, nothing happens. Oh my gosh, what happened? You don't have a formula anymore. So look at the difference between this cell, our blank one here, and note there's no formula up here in our formula line. Versus, as soon as I double click on that cell, I can expose the cells that are involved in the formula. I can also see the formula written up here. So if that were the case, no worries. There's this little blue dot down in the bottom right corner. So you can drag this either up or down. You can drag it across, however you need to apply the formula. Since our formula is centralized to column E, I'm just going to stay within column E. We've only messed up one cell, no biggie. So drag that little blue dot up to the cell that needs to be fixed, and it does it for you. So just completing this line, I mean, every 3 teaspoons makes a tablespoon, but it's only 4 teaspoons. So I think it's going to be a little bit more accurate for us to stay in teaspoons. So I'm just going to write none again. Look, and there's that prompt again to even finish the word none. I just hit enter and it finished it for me. So I'm just going to drag my final weight over. I guess I should say measure because it's technically volume. And yeah, so with your minestrone recipe, these first 3 columns are coming, are coming from the recipe card. So between your increasing yield and your decreasing yield worksheets, those 3 columns should be the same. However, there's going to be a conversion factor greater than 1 in column D for your increasing yield. And in your decreasing yield worksheet in column D, it should be less than 1. So if it's not, that's your first indication that something's going on and the math isn't right. I hope that helped. We'll continue to work with spreadsheets, so I'll just kind of continue to relay my knowledge on them. Spreadsheets are really cool, though. Like I said, there's a lot of power behind creating formulas, and I can show you guys more formulas when we get to costing, and that's a little bit more intricate and fun, but we're going to take it slow. So let's start with this, and if you guys have any questions about it, feel free to email me. Alrighty, bye guys.